That's not good. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Short History of the World in the Global Classroom, a kind of reduced, technically speaking, global classroom, but good enough for our exploration of the human story on planet Earth. And before we begin today, I think we should close the doors. So could somebody just, Davy Rose or Kevin, or thanks, Davy Rose. Yeah, just close the doors so the audio is not being interrupted. Look at this. As we begin right now, the International Space Station behind me is just leaving Canada, moving east into the Atlantic Ocean. And you can see, oh, it just left Newfoundland and Labrador. And now it's moving into the North Atlantic Ocean, live from the International Space Station. We are in orbit around the planet. And we literally just left Canada. And I will come to this in a moment. Before I get going and we start the class, I just want to make sure technically everything is as good as it can be for today's class. I think we're good. All of that has been done in advance of the beginning of the class. So I will check in momentarily with our Cosmos, but I'm going to assume that everybody online, the planets out there, planet KO, planet GS, JR, SP, SL, and AA, the planets in our cosmos or our universe today, our solar system, can all hear me from the podium and can see the space station and are starting to get a little bit of a feeling, slowly but surely, of this widening perspective that we have in this class. So great to see everybody here. We have in person, in a moment, we will choose the note taker, but I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 students in person, which is great. And then we have another 6 or 7 online. So about 21, 22 students on board today. So we're ready to take off and really have a good interactive class in this space. And I know how much it means to some students to be in person, because I received a note from my dean yesterday to say that one student had contacted the faculty office to inquire why some of the classes have had to be from my sunroom or online. And so the student really wanted to be in person and seemed to be quite upset about this. So whoever that student is out there, just know that we have been in person for the past 2 weeks, and I'm really trying hard to make this work this semester. But if you have any questions or concerns, please contact me directly via my email, because I can definitely sit down with you and help you if there's anything you need in terms of questions answered. But it's great to see all of you here. And we are going to be starting a new chapter, as always today, Spells of Our God Kings. And I'm going to take you through that. And we're also going to be doing an activity around something called, and I'm going to give you a very big term right now, and then it will get on the board momentarily when we get our note taker, our scribe. It's called the totalitarian temptation. The totalitarian temptation. And I hope that by the end of today's class, you're going to understand that in much greater detail in terms of Spells of Our God Kings. Because after my lecture today and after the review, I'm going to ask you to get into small teams to think about whether in our world today and in the future, in spite of all the technological progress we've made and scientific discoveries we've made, is it possible that we could go backwards? Is it possible that in spite of all the progress we seem to be making in what I've just described, from a social and political and moral standpoint, we humans may still be children? Some have called us children of the sun, which is a beautiful term because we truly are. But when it comes to understanding how to live together on planet Earth in the human, technological, connected, planet-wide civilization that we have today, is it possible that we humans will fall into the trap that we have in the past, and even the Roman Empire did, as you will see today? What happened to the Roman Empire? You're going to see how it collapsed over time today. And quite a bit of it has to do with the totalitarian temptation. Quite a lot of it has to do with spells of our God kings. Quite a lot of it has to do with the fact that, as we're going to see in today's talk, we all want a big daddy. We all want a daddy to take care of us through difficult times. See what the Americans are saying about our, Vladdy, the great baseball, the slugger for the Blue Jays. And the Americans are taking a little dig. The Yankees have lost. They got clobbered by the Blue Jays. And of course, the New Yorkers are saying, oh, well, it's because you've got Big Daddy for, Daddy, Vladdy, for you. He's taking care of you. He's taking care of you Canadians, because you Canadians need a daddy. Well, so do the Americans. Look at Donald Trump. Talk about a daddy authoritarian figure, if we've ever seen one. And I'll tell you something. Today, you're going to see that we humans are very afraid of freedom. And when we're afraid of freedom and we think there's too much freedom, what do? We go back to the daddy who will take care of us through difficult times. Not the mummy, the big daddy, the God King. So what you're going to see today, in a way, is examples through history of how we fall into this need somehow that we can't break for a totalitarian figure, a strong man to come along and save us from all the chaos. Is it possible that we are entering into a period like that in the 21st century and beyond, with the only difference being that our technology is better? That's all. Is it possible that all of us sitting here today, thinking we're so advanced, actually inside of us are not much different than the scared Egyptian, the scared Greek, the scared Roman, the scared Christian, the scared Jew, the scared Buddhist, the scared human who looks at the chaos in the world and thinks, bring me my savior, bring me my daddy. This is what happened to the Romans. You're going to see. They had an opportunity to be free and they gave it up. They went for the emperors. It's called the fall of the Roman Republic and the rise of the Roman Empire. You're going to understand something about that. So we have a lot to really explore today, but I really want to give you a chance soon to talk with each other and put history into the present and try and understand in what we explore together in this class. Is it relevant to your life today? Or is this stuff you're just learning so you can look smart and get a good mark? Or is this really something you're learning in this class where you can look at the world around you, you can walk out of this room and go, I think I understand it better. I think I have a sense of where we might be going, and I think I know what questions to ask. I hope you will be able to do that, but first you got to be doing that together, and we've got to get some good notes as well. So great. Let's see who's on board, okay? And then we'll get the notes going and we'll talk more about spells of our God Kings, and I can take you through this. But first, Olive, thank you for doing the notes last week. Okay, I don't want to put continuing pressure on one student, although they do get 5 out of 5, but I'd like to give everybody a chance to do this. So who's ready today to go over to the board? And when you pick up that pen, you're not just picking up a pen, you're picking up a human power, as you've seen in breakthroughs to greater power for ourselves on this planet, our ability to write. So when you pick up that pen and you form letters, you're doing something really magnificent in terms of what we humans can do. We've learned how to write. Your dog, your cat, your pet alligator cannot write the way we can. So who's ready to demonstrate that great power today? We're not going to go to Avery Rose. We're not going to go to Olive. Kevin's been very good watching the board, thank you. Nora, have you done it yet? You don't have, you ready to go? Excellent. What's your name again? Kayla, way to go, Kayla. So Kayla's going to do notes. And Kayla, just remember, you pick up that pen, you are connecting with a human 5,000 years ago who began to put that little, letter or symbol in a clay tablet called cuneiform. So can you write down spells of our God Kings? Let's see. Spells of our God Kings. Nice. That's today. And underneath that, could you just put on board? And then why don't we make this easy for Kayla and get you moving around? Could you please go and put your names on the board and let Kayla give you the pen. I'll talk to the guys in the Cosmos for a little bit. Get your names on board now and then come back, okay? Thank you. And I'll try my best to stay here at the podium with everybody. Okay, so Cosmos. Hi, everybody out there. I need your full names right now. So go ahead in the live chat. We're doing on board. Could you please? Thanks, Jackie. Let's see who else. I need Gurnam. Nice. So Gurnam's with us. Katie Lee, Chris Towns, Shamim. Nice. Who else? Zeal. Good. Okay, so Jackie, Shamim. Arifa, I see you here, but I need you to write your full name in the live chat. Good. That way I get it correct. Okay. Is it Tobias? Planet TT, I see in the icon. Could you please write down your full name in the live chat? That way we get a full on board. Okay. Tobias, are you a ghost or are you real? I don't know. Good. Thank you. Is Tobias the correct pronunciation? Tobias? Yes? Okay. For any of you, please feel free at any time to jump on your microphone and do your best, if you can, to manage the desire to say your microphone is broken. It might be, but it probably isn't. So it's okay to be in the live chat, but if you want to get the fuller benefit of the class, it's best to be giving us your wonderful voice. But I understand if you don't want to, okay? I'm not asking anyone to mute their cameras or unmute their cameras or microphones. It's not an order. But if you want to be directly participating more with the students here, please feel free to jump on your microphones, okay? Thanks. Okay, so we are just about ready to move on to a little bit of review, and I'm going to be asking Kayla to do a bit of writing with us, but we'll do it together, okay? Kayla, do you know how to move the slides as well? I can show you. I'll get it, okay. But that's great. Thank you, everybody, for their good Gurnam. Okay, so it's looking like we have officially right now 9 and maybe about, I don't know, 15 or so in person. So 24, 25 on board. And we're just about ready to take off. We're going to close the hatch, close the doors, and we're going to get this spaceship into orbit. Just looking at my notes to see if there's anything I need to deal with before we start our review. But I think we're in good shape, and everybody can see the same thing, which is good. And look, excellent condition on the YouTube live stream, which means the gods are with us. The God of live streams. Have you ever thought that maybe in the future we might go back to multiple gods? Everything changes. It's remarkable when you start to think about the story of humans on planet Earth and how much changes on this planet. We all assume certain things are going to remain the same. Well, maybe we humans will get sick of one God and we might go back to multiple gods. Maybe the single God religions like Christianity, Judaism, Islam will get tired of fighting each other. The Muslims, the Jews, and the Christians who fight each other a lot. Have you noticed? Maybe they will get tired of killing each other and we will see something else happen. But we are seeing peace break out in Gaza today, which is pretty good. Kayla, review. Okay. Okay, great. So as we're reviewing and we're starting today, is there anything anybody would like to say? Anything on your mind? Anything that confuses you or concerns you want to bring to the class's attention? Maximize your time in person the best you can and say something, but you don't have to, okay? In the cosmos, if there's anything anybody would like to say in this little bit of review before I continue talking, please jump on your microphone. Okay, here's a question for you by way of reviewing, and by way of connecting you to a very important event that's happening in the world this week. One of the things I like to do, if I have time and the tech is working and I can focus on the content more, is talk a bit about current events at the beginning and how they connect to history. So you can see that this historical knowledge that you're gaining in this class actually is relevant to your world right now. Do you remember what we ended with last week in the in-person class? And then also was one of the final thoughts in the recorded lecture. I asked you to sort of watch or familiarize yourself, called Awakenings of Power. Do you remember what subatomic particle we were talking about?
Yeah.
Olive?
Yeah.
The atom. Okay. Do you want to write down the atom? Exactly, the atom. But the atom is not a subatomic particle. It's an atom. It's a particle. But inside the atom, yes, the electron. Exactly. The electron. This week, the Nobel Prizes had started to be given out in Sweden. And just raise a hand if you're familiar with what a Nobel Prize is. Have you heard Nobel Prize, Nobel? Does anybody want to tell us? Olive, go ahead and tell us what a Nobel Prize is.
Do we want to go with the Nobel Prize or Nobel?
Just in general, what is a Nobel Prize?
Nobel Prize is something to recognize someone for extreme knowledge or achievement in scientific completion.
Yes.
In their role in human evolution.
That's right. It's for brilliant achievements in fields of science and also culture as well. Literature, for example, Nobel Prize for Peace is often given to somebody who has achieved something in peace, but also in literature as well. We've had a Canadian who won, I think it's Alice Munro, a few years ago, Nobel Prize for Literature.
There's also someone who achieved the Nobel Peace Prize and then turned what he used to create such a thing for agriculture into a chemical turn.
Yes, I remember. Was he Indian?
No, that was German.
Okay, I may be.
This was the gas warfare of World War One.
Okay, well,
Same person who created the chemicals to make farming much more capable and turn that into mustard gas.
well, if that's true, I have to check. It very likely is. I'm not going to go down that route yet.
My apologies.
No, it's good. But you said, Olive, because you've just put your finger on another great term that we will talk about. Kayla, could you put the term the paradox of progress? The paradox of progress. This is a very important idea. The paradox of progress. It's often been touched on by historians that when we make these great scientific achievements that give us more power, they also give us new dangers. You will see in the 20th century, for example, when we get to the two world wars, World War I and World War II, which are the worst conflicts in human history, you will see how we deploy weapons of mass destruction to catastrophic extents. And it's a very disturbing phenomenon. And so historians have called this the paradox of progress. They've said that humans have to understand that when they invent something that gives them more power, they make a discovery that gives them more power, it also can bring new dangers if they don't use it well. So when you mention about mustard gas and something being chemically discovered, it's something that I think you need to know now as we move forwards. But I'm going to get to that in greater detail when we get to the 20th century. The Nobel Prize for physics and for chemistry, for example, have been given out this week. And I just would like to tell you how incredible it is to learn about the things that scientists are beginning to uncover for which they are receiving Nobel Prizes this week. For example, I spoke about the electron at the end of last week's class. And the reason I did is because I wanted you to open your mind to this idea that awakening to power that humans begin to do on planet Earth, the power that has allowed us to create technology, for example, that puts us into space and that has created a space station, the power that gives us those microprocessors and transistors and other devices that can create the camera, the high definition camera, so we can see the planet as you're seeing it now. You're seeing Earth live. We're the first humans, the first creatures on this planet who have this perspective. When I talk today about spells of our God Kings, and when I talk about awakenings of power, I'm talking about opening your perspective to a newer perspective of reality for you, to understand that there's a story to be told now, as if we were standing on another planet, looking back, because we can do that now. We have the astronaut's view. It's called the overview effect. And that perspective is very, very new. And that perspective is allowing us to ask ourselves questions like, what's been going on down there? Who are the humans? What have they done? What is this thing called human civilization, human society? Well, the fact is, we have a lot of power now. And science, more than religion, the two great intellectual forces on planet Earth, science and religion, it's science that is making the discoveries, not religion. And science is showing us things we never imagined. And about 120 years ago, a scientist won the Nobel Prize, J.J. Maxwell, for discovering the electron. That has given us modern electronics, as I mentioned last week. This week in Sweden, there are scientists winning a whole bunch of new prizes. And the one that won for physics, the same prize that was given out 120 years ago for the electron, it's called quantum tunneling. Do any of you know what quantum is? I have touched on this a little bit, but have you heard about the next revolution coming in computers called quantum computation? Kevin might have. Olive?
There is multiple different companies trying to push beyond what the computer has originally been capable of doing to process systems terabytes per second.
Even faster, Olive. Just imagine something. Just want to give you a sense, just like very, very introductory of what 3 scientists just won the Nobel Prize for this week in Sweden. You will be hearing about it. I'm not even talking about chemistry that just won. Chemistry, there's a whole bunch, another group that has won for new materials. And that is really will blow your mind. But think about this in physics, called quantum tunneling. In a very, very, very introductory way, imagine you have a ball. You have a tennis ball. And you throw the tennis ball at the wall. You throw this thing at the wall. What's it going to do? It's going to bounce back. Yeah. Well, imagine if you have a new thing, like a tennis ball, an object, you throw it at the wall, and it tunnels through the wall and comes out the other side. Can you get your mind around that? Can you get your mind around an object that tunnels through an impenetrable surface, a barrier, and gets to the other side? It doesn't bounce off it. It doesn't stop at the wall. It goes through the wall. Quantum tunneling. The idea that we are discovering the power of certain subatomic particles, like electrons and others, to go through barriers. It's called quantum tunneling. We're discovering, get your mind around this. We're discovering in the natural world again and again and again things that will give humans more power. It is just like what we did 3 million years ago when we picked up a rock and we figured out how to shape that rock into something that will give us more power. But now it's happening at greater speed with subatomic particles, little tiny quanta. Are we ready for the power that this will give us? It's fascinating. And I can tell you that if you would like to know more about the scientific discoveries that we humans are making, just go to the Nobel YouTube channel and watch the lectures or press conferences that the winners are giving where they talk about this stuff. I will say finally, if I were you and you were me and you were talking like this and I was listening to you when I was your age, I would have gone, God, this is boring. Science, who cares? I was taught science so badly and tech so badly. It was only when I got older and I started to study on my own did I really understand what's going on. Schools are not teaching this stuff very, very well. And I will tell you, if you want to know what's really going on in the world, learn on your own. Go to the YouTube channels of these great places and watch the great professors tell you what they're doing. It's going to blow your mind about what we humans are doing. So, does anybody have anything they'd like to say about another current event that's happening in the world today that seems to be connected to this bigger story of what humans have been doing? Science is a remarkable story, but is there any event? Hold on, I don't want to get too defaulty yet with Olive, because Olive's good. Olive's got a lot to say. It's great. Good, Kayla. And Kayla's putting stuff down. I haven't even asked her. She's just, stuff is going through Kayla's brain. And she's moving her hand and she's writing. She's doing what humans do. She's thinking, she's processing, and she's recording. That's a great power that she's doing. And she learned how to put letters down some time ago in school. It's called an alphabet. And that's meaning. So does anybody have anything they'd like to bring to the class's attention before I check and go back to default? Let's see.
I'm now considered the default. I don't know how to fill them.
Well, all of you've been contributing and, you've absolutely. Gurnham, you wanted to say something. Are you able to jump on your microphone? Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Professor, and good morning, all of them.
Great, we can hear you clearly.
Yeah. I want to talk to you actually about related to the last class, not about on this topic.
Sure.
And that you have mentioned in the last class about the Mesopotamian civilization, right?
Yes.
Yeah. On that topic, I want to say something that
Yes.
there's one more thing that you have mentioned about the Indus Valley. The both Mesopotamia and the Harappa civilization were like an Asian culture, but they
Yes.
are like different geographical and the lifestyle. And about the Mesopotamia developed between the Tigris, as you said, Middle East
Yes.
rivers, and where the templates and the places were culture. In contrast, like the Harappa civilization furnished along with the Indus River,
Yes.
known
Yes.
for its like planned cities, drainage system, and the brick houses. The Harappa civilization, like a region extending from the Manda region, like in India,
Yes.
to and the Genter, which is in the Pakistan now. This is the thing that I wanted to mention about the in the class about that you haven't mentioned in the last class though.
Yeah, no, this is great. And I'm glad you've brought this up. And I just wanted to kind of elaborate on the beginnings of food production and civilization, because what Gurnham is saying clearly is, and we talk about this after last class as well in the atrium, I think, Gurnham?
Yeah, we have you have mentioned about the like a civilization just only for on the Mesopotamia and some language that had they have been developed. Yeah.
Yes. And if I remember correctly, and I had mentioned to him to please bring this up in class, because I wanted to just clarify something for you. What he's saying is that India around, and can you see my cursor here up here? You good? Yeah, okay. So I'll just put it over here by India and Pakistan, right in here, okay?
Yeah.
Can you actually see that as well at your end, Gurnham?
Yeah, I can
Great.
see that your cursor. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. He's saying that he felt that I had overlooked the fact that in that part of the world, they too were beginning to produce food and have cities that were growing. And one, Harappa, the Harappan civilization, for example, Mohenjo-Daro
Mohenjo-daro.
is another one. And that he felt that maybe I had a bit of a Western-centric view. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. I have to select, in being able to provide in the period of time I have, critical turning points. And I can't always say everything that I would like. But the fact is that India and China, as I've done in recorded lectures, which is more detail, but India and China also were doing what the Mesopotamians were doing too. But world historians will generally tell you, Gurnham, that it was in Mesopotamia that we were seeing this process happen first.
Yeah.
But not so much before India. But what happened was that there was, and this is a very, very important point to make about how trade has worked in the world. But if you look at the longitude and latitudes of the planet, I can explain something to you that a very important world historian has done to tell you that the reason why India and Mesopotamia were developing largely at the same time, but Mesopotamia first generally, is because they share the same latitude, the same temperature, the same climate. So watch what I mean by that, okay? When we talk about latitude, we're talking about these lines that go east-west in the world. So if you look at my arrow right now, you will see that in the area of Mesopotamia right here, as I go east, through Iraq and Afghanistan, I get into northern India, and it continues on through China, all the way to the Yellow and the Yangtze rivers. The reason why these areas actually began to develop agriculture around the same time, with Mesopotamia maybe ahead, but Gurnham brings a good point that we're not entirely certain it happened there first, but most world historians will say it started in the West and began to move east. And the reason that the Indian civilization, the Chinese and Mesopotamia could be growing food well because they shared the same climate. And as a matter of fact, there were roads and trade routes that started to form between these parts of the world because there was no big body of water in between. Take a look. If you look down here, right here in Iraq, it's coming out of the Persian Gulf, right in, get my glasses so this can be as accurate as I can make it. Here we have Iraq right here, and we have in here, just coming out of here, is the Persian Gulf right there. It's very small. This map is not to scale, okay? It's just more of a visual. But right here, do you see the arrow? There's the Tigris and Euphrates, and Mesopotamia would have been right in here. And as you follow this east, there's no big body of water. It's all land.
Exactly.
And that is why it's said that this area of the world got a head start on everybody else, because not only did they have a rich climate, it was temperate, that allowed for the crops to grow on the farms, but they could also trade knowledge, and they could travel from the Indian, Mesopotamian, the Chinese gradually will begin to trade on the Silk Road system or the incense road systems or many others. This is a fundamental fact about world history that's fascinating. And it's just about how the world is configured. Jared Diamond has gone into this a lot, and others in their books, that they say that the reason why this part of the world got a head start and will eventually conquer many others was not because they were smarter. There's no biological superiority, people. It's just because they got a head start. They had the better climate. If you go into the Americas and you look at the bodies of water that are prohibiting people from traveling from north to south, if you look at Africa and you look at the Sahara Desert all across here and how that's going to be an obstacle for people traveling from north to south, the Mesopotamians, the Indians, and the Chinese did not have natural obstacles in their way, and that way they could begin to combine their knowledge. Does that make sense? Do you see that? It's a fascinating fact about world history. And Gurnham, I'm glad you brought this to our attention, but I wanted to take this as a chance to expand and say there's a bigger force going on here, and that is India was not the first. India is not the best. India is part of something bigger. Now, I'm not suggesting, Gurnham, in any way that the reason you said this is because you're Indian. But I am saying, this is not the first time a student has come to me who said, but wait a minute, I've been told that we're the ones who were first. I've had many Muslim students come to me and say, but Muhammad saw all of what you saw long before you did. He understood science. And I've had Jewish students come to me, and Christian students and Chinese, all saying, but wait a minute, we're the ones who were the first at this. Gurnham is not wrong. But I want to make sure you understand that when you bring this information to a world history class, you have to put it in the context of the bigger human story. And it is possible, Gurnham, it is possible that the information you've been given is focused largely on India because you're Indian. Is that possible?
It doesn't mean that I'm come from the India. That's why I just put it this that point on the class. But as you mentioned in the last, because from my childhood, we are like a learning history from like from very first grade, and there is a one more civilization has to be mentioned in the class, but it was not mentioned. That's why I just
Okay.
came
fair enough.
across to show my
Yeah.
point in the class. Yeah.
And that's absolutely fair. That's absolutely fair. But I just want to make sure that when you are thinking in terms of your own nationality, your own religion, your own culture, that you're not blinkered about your importance. Aren't we a little bit tired right now of every American saying America first? And if a Canadian said Canada first, wouldn't that get tiresome too? So let's continue to look at this beautiful, strange thing called the human story, the story we all share and the troubles we've had together as we've created this great planet-wide civilization. Okay, let me just move on for a second and then I'll take a question. I want to finish the review, but I want to make sure that everybody is clear on what we've covered so far. So let's just do a really, really quick sort of panoramic overview of some critical dates and turning points in the story so far, going all the way back to the beginning, okay? And let's help Kayla put down some critical dates, and we'll do this together. Now, for those of you who are online right now, in your computers or somewhere, I hope you're taking notes or you're thinking, but if you're disappearing somewhere else, I need your head right now. I need your brain focused, okay? Because I'm going to ask you to tell me stuff from your memory. And I'm going to ask you to do this even in the cosmos and even watching the recording later. Your memory is a precious thing. It's what gives us a lot of power on this planet. And I do worry that increasingly humans are farming out their memory to their machines. Farming out your memory to Google, to Wikipedia, to any device that can give you the information you need immediately. So I want to help you strengthen your memories. It's very, very important. So I want to put a little pressure on all of you right now, okay? What is the date? What's the event and the date, approximately, when this story that we've been exploring this semester began? Just raise a hand, okay? If you, Kevin? Out of your head, out of your head. Yep, no looking at anything. I want it to be in your head. When does it begin? When does this story, we started at an event. Some big thing happened in nature, okay? What is that? Keep thinking. Feel the pressure. Memory. Yeah. Yes, I am. Now look and tell me, what is that event? Yeah, exactly. That's all. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. So Big Bang, and when approximately do we think that this moment took place where we start to see subatomic particles emerge? Electrons will come a little bit later, but that electron, all these things scientists are discovering, it was all there at the beginning. So what's the time period, Kevin, more or less?
I don't remember if we covered that in this class or my other class that covered that.
Okay, well,
it was like 10 to the minus 40 seconds after the Big Bang.
How many billions of years? Like it's big.
Less than one.
What's that?
Oh, ago?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 13.8 billion years ago.
Okay, well, we'll say 13.8, 13.7. So 13.7 BYA. Okay. Thanks. That's great, Kayla. And BYA, not bring your own, avocado or whatever. I'm just making this up. Bring your own apple. Bring your own apple. But okay, we're going to roar through this very fast. Okay, just a few critical events. When did the sun take shape? The sun, which is the battery of all life on this planet, and people have said in studying humanity, we are the children of the sun. We humans.
multiple billion years older than Earth itself?
No, not multiple. More or less? Should I put some pressure on a student who probably knows, but then maybe she doesn't know and she might not want to say anything? 5 billion years ago. 5 BYA. And we know the sun is all gas and, you know, all the huge ball of gas. It's not hard. It's hydrogen and helium, those two amazing elements that came out of the Big Bang. The first two elements, hydrogen and helium. So the Earth essentially took its present shape after a lot of period where it was starting to cool down. It got battered by other objects in space. Part of it broke off and became the moon. Gradually, everything began to take shape and settle around 4.5 billion years ago. So that's Earth. I'm going to shoot ahead, really fast forward this, okay? Because we need to remember something. What is the starting line, the beginning of civilization? When did that more or less take place? We covered this. Can't look at your notes. You can't look at anything. Even if you use your great brain critical thinking and you make some deductions and you think about, you know, this bigger story and what you've heard in the class so far, you think about your discussion posts and you just sort of get into that mental frame of mind where you're thinking bigger. So, you know, when do you think it probably happened? Which is, we began to grow our own food. We began to, you know, take the animals out of the wild and put them onto farms, and we started to milk them, and we started to kill them for food. Roxalana? Yeah, 10,000 years ago. 10,000 years ago. 10,000 YA. So put 10,000.
That was for.
And then 10. You know what? We'll try something new because normally I'll have you write. Put 10 TYA. 10,000 years ago. Exactly. YA. So the T would be 10,000 years ago. Great, Kayla. I'm going to stop with this review only because I want to make a point for you to understand. If you look at the scale on which this story has unfolded, and you see that we humans have evolved out of all that has been on this planet, according to the best of our knowledge, if we put our religions aside for a moment, we have to, and we look at what we know from evidence, there's a thing called evolution that's been happening on this planet. And we have learned that we have evolved from lower creatures on this planet. So if you look at that period of time, billions of years to thousands, did we humans kind of seem to just get here? Does it look like we just arrived on the planet? Is that what it feels like when you look at 10,000 years ago, we just started to create civilization, but the Earth formed 4.5 billion years ago. The universe has been going for 13.7, and here we are just beginning to create civilization. Doesn't it seem like that's just yesterday?
In timeline, yes.
I just want to make sure this is landing with you because this is probably not the way you normally think. And my job is to help open your perspective to a much more modern planet-wide story on planet Earth. This is the history that you've come to this class for. It's a human planet-wide history. So when you think now, have you ever thought that you, human, just have just started becoming civilized? It just happened 10,000 years ago. That's like yesterday. Is that, Nora, kind of making sense? You sure? Or does it feel like I don't get this?
No, I get it.
You get it? Okay, good.
I'm learning that we're shown in the grade 10, whoever in geography.
Geography? Yes, good.
And it was like of like a year, I think, and humanity's like civilization.
Yeah, like the last second.
Yeah,
the last second. If you take a whole year or you take 24 hours and you look at the whole history of the, humanity just got here like 30 seconds ago, and, civilization just began 10 seconds ago. So this is, I hope, the first critical perspective in this class that's going to make you feel good about our future. We just got here. We're learning what to do here. There's lots of time ahead for us to work the problems through. We're not ending the world here. This is not, the end apocalyptic times coming, folks. That's your religion. That's Hollywood. That's a simplistic way of looking at it. There's something else going on here, which is we're very new on this planet. Avery Rose?
Said about just becoming civilized, it kind of reminded me of something. I'm sorry if all my references are all.
It's okay. It's okay. Tell us.
And please, anyone correct me if I'm wrong here, but the term civilized, at least from what I've seen and heard,
Yes?
can be a very loose term. Like it's almost like it depends on what side of the fence you're on.
It's a great question, and we should get a definition that is clear. I will help you with that. Yes.
Of what it is, but at the same time, it can vary depending where in the world you are and other factors as well. For some reason, it just reminded me of the film Pocahontas
Yes.
and the song Savages, when the two societies met each other in such a fashion.
Yes.
They thought of the other as a savage. They
Yes.
couldn't understand that they were, even though their lifestyles were different, they were still civilized in a way. But because of the lack of communication and collective learning from each other, it led to almost war. And I just don't.
Yes. It's a terrific question, and I'm not surprised you would ask that, because your mind has really demonstrated that kind of thinking. I would like to take a moment to help define civilization for you. We can do it together, and also remind you that we're going to be coming to a point in the story called The Conquest, where we're going to see the two halves of the planet meet. If you look at the map of the world in a very, very simple way, there is the Eastern Hemisphere and the Western Hemisphere. The Eastern Hemisphere is everything east of the Atlantic Ocean. You notice the Atlantic Ocean? Again, this is not to scale, but you notice all the land going east of the Atlantic Ocean. That's Europe, and that's, Asia, and that's the Far East. And then you look at everything west of the Atlantic, and that's the Americas, North America, South America. Well, we tend to say, when we look at the whole planet, we can split it into this very, very broad view, that there is the Eastern Hemisphere and the Western Hemisphere. And for a long time in this story of human history, they never met each other. But then, essentially in 1492, there were other attempts of the East to get across the Atlantic to the West, but eventually they did. East got there. The West did not come to the East. The East went to the West. Eurasia, Europe, Asia, and Northern Africa. We often say Eurasia or Afro-Eurasia, that huge chunk of land. It's all land because you can connect. It's all a landmass. Europe and Asia are connected via land. Actually, Europe is connected to Africa via land when you go into Egypt through the Suez Canal area there and down into Egypt. So Afro-Eurasia is all one massive land mass. And then there's the Americas, and that's another. So that's like very broad way of looking at it. And the Afro-Eurasian world came over across the Atlantic in 1492, essentially. That was Christopher Columbus. and he discovered what he thought was India. I will get to that later when we get there. But to put what Avery Rose has said in context, it was a tremendous slaughter. It was a terrible, terrible event for the indigenous peoples who were, 80 to 90 million of Americans, incredible, diverse indigenous communities all across the Americas and Canada, United States, down into South America, these civilizations that had formed and never had any contact with the eastern part of the world. And now the eastern part comes over and it's mostly just death, plagues, empty out these indigenous communities. Jared Diamond has written about this, called Guns, Germs, and Steel, but many other historians preceded him, and they've talked about how the Eastern world, with their superior technologies and they thought their superior religions, Christianity, killed off the indigenous. And if you don't think that's relevant today, just go over to next door to the First Peoples Indigenous Center here, and you will see that we're very much living today with the tragedy of what happened then, which is exactly what Avery Rose has sort of put her finger on, which is when two societies come together, particularly one that believes it's superior and has a pope saying, kill all the people who aren't Christian. That's called a papal bull that was issued to Columbus and others. If they don't become Christian, they're savages. Kill them. Dispense with them. They're not human. The legacy of that is very much part of our lives today. And Avery Rose is putting her finger on a terrible conflict that we have to deal with. And we're still, in some ways, you could say, cleaning up that mess. But on the other hand, if you're an American today, or a proud Canadian too, you might say, look at what great civilization the Europeans brought to these indigenous cultures that didn't have writing and, were barely dressed. But that's such a crude and simplistic way of looking at who these people were here from a spiritual standpoint. But many people would say they deserved their fate. They were weak. We were strong. Let the strong prevail. What an ugly way of looking at the world. But a lot of people would say that. Let's come back to today. And can you just hold the question for a second, Olive, and make sure? I really appreciate the point you've made. I just don't want to talk too much about the conquest because it's coming. And there are a lot of very dark things that are coming in this story. But we need to get a definition of civilization. I think it's a very, very good thing to do. So let's stop for a second. And as a matter of fact, I think given the time and given the importance of this question, I'm going to do what I often do is I throw out my lesson plan depending on how the students respond and who says what, and I'm ready to skate with the class, and I'm going to go into that corner today instead of that corner. But my skates are sharp, so we can go that way. I think we need to break into little groups and get a definition of civilization by the end of today's class that's clear. I could give you one right now, a standard one. But I think that it's a very important concept to explore. And I've done this in previous classes, but, this is a slightly different class this semester with the strike. But I'd like to stop and do this. So are you okay with that we're going to explore this particular question? Do you believe that's a very important thing to get a definition of? What is civilization? I think so. I know Kevin does, Avery Rose does, Olive does, and Prince, and Prince does. Lovely name, Prince. So here we go. We're going to get into little groups, all right? And let's see, we have, and we'll get Kayla into a group as well, all right? So let's say Olive, Kayla, Nora, and Nitya. Ditcha. You're a group, okay? You can leave it for now. I'll comment. So we're gonna do groups of 4, okay? So the 4 here, you can stay here 4, all right? Could you try and make leaps? Yes, Austin, could you come over here, please? And Austin, no longer Mitch, right? Just Austin, okay? Austin, you're gonna be over here, and then the rest will be here, okay? Roxana, and Clarissa, Kevin, okay? Would you please take about 15 minutes to have a little chat and make some notes? What do you think civilization means? Like, we want a definition, okay? We will get a great definition today. And for those of you who are in the cosmos, I'd like all of you to do the same on your own. Could you please sit quietly, give some thought to this idea of civilization? What is it? We need to define it. And then we're going to take this up. And once you define it, please put it in the live chat. Here are my 2 requests. First, that you actually stop and think for a moment, okay? So whatever you're doing at this moment, since I can't see or hear any of you, it's okay. If you're doing many other things, then you're going to have to do one more thing. Or if you can, stop doing those things. And I want you to take a moment to think. So could you just confirm, all of you, with a yes in the live chat, you just heard what I said? Just need to know. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. The next request I have is, when you give this definition of civilization, after you've thought about it, and you've thought back to this sort of 10,000 year moment when we started to become civilized, and then you start to think about what you've seen so far in the story that I've covered after that, after food production. And based on what you know, based on what your memory tells you, please enter into the live chat your definition of civilization. What I don't want you to do, and what I will not accept, is you cutting and pasting anything into the live chat from a website. Okay? So this has to be you, the human being, thinking right now. Is that fair? If it is, if I don't hear from all of you, I'll think that's fair. I want you to use your brain. I want you to use your memory. I want you to use your imagination. I want you to use what you've learned so far. I don't want you going to a device, to ChatGPT, to Google, to any place to give you the information. It has to come out of your head. Okay, thanks. And if you have any questions, just put it in the live chat. I'm going to be here while the rest of the group is doing their activity. So I'm available if you need me.
Okay, yeah. That God came to.
Very cool.
I definitely need to look at the Children of the Sun because I've heard other versions of that, but that's definitely the first one I've heard like that.
I mean, I always like saying, because when you think about it, we are. We all are. That's okay, Zeal. Do you want me to repeat what I just told the others? Yeah, okay. We've broken into... Yeah, Shamim has started to put it in, Zeal, but I've asked all of you to provide a definition from your own memory, your own imagination, your own knowledge of what you think civilization means. I don't want you to be going to a website or to any other place and cutting and pasting information into this. I want to hear what you know. Okay, Zeal? Put that into the live chat. Take a few minutes, to think about it, and concentrate. Really try and concentrate on this. Focus. What is civilization? My professors just asked me, what is civilization? What do I think it means? Put that into the live chat when you're ready, Zeal. Thanks.
Yeah. So we could, because we're bringing freedom, but as you said, we need someone to.
Excellent. Okay.
We need a whole person. We blame or make it. And then I just keep cycling up. Yes.
So you see where if I wasn't in like political or outside, you also see it.
Yeah. And it just will keep happening every time someone by hour.
I try to just set up a cycle I want to, or for each group, have one trial, so like, my religion or my being
Good, Katie. Yeah, Katie's on to something here. It's called urbanization. I'll write that down for you. I'm going to have some fun with this too. Katie is on to something. It's called urbanization. Let me spell that out. Okay, so see if I get that map. In its simplest terms, it's often said by historians that civilization is when we begin to create cities, when humans come out of the wild. And here's another term I'll give all of you, okay? Out of the wilderness into the metropolis. That's a term that's been used by historians as well. I think it's kind of the tip of the iceberg. But then the question becomes, Katie, if you want to think about this a little bit further, about what happens when we come together, what do we do? What do humans start to do when they come together in greater numbers? Because that's really important. What do we start to figure out, understand, and create? Give that some thought, Katie, and then see if you can put your answer into the live chat for that. That's right. That's right. Build governments. Yeah. And then, here's a term, Katie, that is really important. By starting to build governments, we create hierarchy. Essentially, the beginning of slavery. This is fun. I haven't done this before, actually, go into the live chat. But I'm now a group. We're a group together, Lon at the podium with all the cosmos. And we're creating some meaning here, too. All right, so the groups here are scribbling some things down. Take another few minutes, okay? 3 minutes, and then we're going to take this up together. And we're going to have a written down. And we'll get Kayla to continue in a moment, okay? When we're ready, okay? We're going to put and we're going to get a good definition of what it is. But yeah.
Is that you who posted the very bottom message there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me. And also the one just near the top, out of the wilderness into the metropolis, has been a term that historians have used to define civilization. It's coming out of the wild and then beginning to create this bigger thing with cities. So humans start to come together,
Yeah.
collecting greater numbers. Large numbers start to form. We don't see this to this extent in indigenous communities as much as we see this. So it's like populations really grow.
Isn't there an actual island where most people are banned to even go to because it's a protected island of indigenous people?
It's possible. I don't know, but I don't know of it.
I've heard of it a few times, and there's pictures of small planes who've gone over it, and there's just spears coating the entire bottom of the friggin' plane.
Is this in Brazil? In South America? I mean, I know that there are some indigenous societies there living in the Amazon forest that have had virtually no contact. But almost all societies, even in very remote ones, have had contact now. Okay, one more minute. Get your definitions in there. We're going to take this up together, and then basically we're going to be out of time. We're getting close.
North Sentinel Island in India is one of the islands because it has a protected.
What's the source on that, Olive?
I'm just looking on the AI overview right now.
Okay. Well, if you could find me a good source. You've heard North Sentinel? Maybe if you can just go to Encyclopedia Britannica for the moment and see what they say, or even Wikipedia, and see what Wikipedia's sources are at the bottom. You can go to Wikipedia, and then we'll check the sources at the bottom. North Sentinel in India. Okay, 30 seconds. Let's see, we have Katie, good. Jackie's in there. Chris is in there. Shamim is in there. Gurnham, are you still thinking? Oh, no, Gurnham, you're there. I see you. Okay, good. Okay, so we'll move on very, very shortly, and we're going to take this up. And I think it's time that we let the students teach a little bit more, and I got to step out of the way. So Kayla is on the board. Olive's over here.
So here's
The references for North Sentinel.
Yes. I have no idea what.
Times of India. That's an official newspaper in India. It's a long-standing paper. The Telegraph, British. I don't know what the Quint is. Let's see if we can. Oh, the sense. Let's go to the Times of India. Okay, there's a Times of India.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, right there. Okay. Interesting. Sentinelese. Let's see. According to the Times of India, the 2011 Census of India says there are 10 households in the North Sentinel Island comprising 15 individuals. And they aggressively protect their isolation from the rest of the world. Many attempts to make contact with them in the 1970s failed after they attacked using bow and arrow.
So yeah, they are
interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, let's. Why don't we, Prince? You want to come up here, and we're gonna take this up together. Okay, about civilization. You ready to speak a little bit from the podium? Okay. You want to come up, and you can stand with me, and Prince and I are going to do this together. We have right now Kayla's on the board. which is great. And let's just check and see. YouTube is looking good. Yes. So let's make sure. Why don't you stand right here so you're kind of more the focus and I'm off the side. Come right in so everybody can see you. Just a little closer, Prince. That's it. And this is great. Okay. So essentially, let's start this. And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Okay. Just a little, because this will help. Prince is going to kick off the take up so that in the next 10 minutes we can get a working definition of civilization, and Kayla is ready on the board. So Prince, based on what you've been hearing or thinking about, you can even look here if you want, but just essentially from your head, what do you think civilization is?
Well, like from what me and my group were talking about, at first I said peace, but we really talked about it, and not all civilizations are peaceful. So
Absolutely.
So my group kind of decided, like, it's like the congregation of one group, like working together to achieve like a similar thing.
Congregation of people.
Yeah.
That's good. That's the beginning. Congregation of people. We're brainstorming together, and I'm guiding you, okay? And then we'll get a good working definition. We're just getting some points down, and I want to help you get the right information down. So, congregation of people. A lot of people, or just a few more people?
I would assume like a lot of people, because you can't build a civilization by yourself. So I would assume like a lot of people.
A lot of people? And are these people related, like blood related, or
No.
not?
No.
Exactly. Think about it now. Lots of people are starting to gather around these farms that are forming food production. They're starting to build settlements, and they're becoming stationary. We often say with civilization, it's settling down. Humans are settling down around farmland. And a lot of them are strangers to each other. You're going to see soon the beginnings of government. How do these people who don't know each other, but they're gathering around these farms, how do we ensure they don't kill each other? How do we ensure there's going to be some peace? How do we create some laws? But that's coming. That's coming. So congregating, lots of people. And what do these people, besides farming, what do they start to do?
Besides farming, I guess they try to like build different things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Why wouldn't they just be content with just farming? Why would they start to build more?
Because there's a lot more out there that they haven't seen yet than just farming, or they feel like they can like maybe work towards a different goal than farming.
Collective learning. William McNeill has said, one of our great world historians, human civilization foundationally is in part about persistent collective learning. Humans come together and they start learning together. Okay, thanks, Prince. That's good for now. All right, so give Prince a hand for at least coming up and sharing a little. You know, it's. I'm gonna keep. Who's now ready to expand this definition a little bit and come up and take some questions before I pull somebody in here and put the fishing rod out and rope? Kevin, come on, yeah, Kevin. Oh, great. Kevin has generated a statement. Please go ahead, and you got to stand right here so they can see and hear you, okay? And I will just make sure that that's okay. And just come right up here so they can hear you. Good. Okay, so Kevin, go ahead.
Civilization, a group of people that name themselves together and share an ideal, semicolon, a community that supports each other, period.
Pretty good. Supports each other.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What are some of the things that these people, and now there are not just a few dozen, but a few thousand, start to form around these farms as they're growing, and these farms start to have what's called a surplus of food. So when we say they're becoming civilized, they are supporting each other, they're living together, and how are they spending their time together largely, Kevin, in terms of this supporting of one another? What are they
can
doing
see where
together?
You're going. You're headed towards specialization.
Specialization, exactly. That's a very good term. Specialization. And what do some humans that specialize in something do, and what do other humans do who are specializing in something else? What are these things we humans are starting to specialize in? Kevin?
So before the invention of agriculture, 99% of all humans had to spend all of the waking hours of the day foraging for food, hunting and gathering. But after the invention of agriculture, there are periods of the year when like only 20% of the human population has to be working on food production. And there's other periods of the year where like 80 to 90% are all harvesting at the same time or something like that. But so during those periods of the year when you're not forced to be working on food production, you can do other things. You can invent writing, or you can create laws, or you can be a king, or you can serve the king, or you can develop other industries.
Yes.
And figure out like metallurgy or something like that.
Now, we begin to, metallurgy is when we learn how to do mining. We go in and we start to figure out how to take things from rocks, like aluminum or tin, for example, or copper. And we start to play with those metals and we form new metals. For example, bronze is actually not naturally made by nature. Humans made it. They put tin together, they put copper together, and they create bronze.
And sometimes zinc.
And zinc and many other elements that we start to. So we start to exploit the earth for our needs more together. We start to become more productive. That's a very important part of civilization. We start to create things from the earth and we start to produce more. That's going to create problems for humanity. But we're starting to work together in large numbers. We're beginning to create towns and cities. We're becoming urbanized. Okay, that's really in its simplest form, a definition of civilization. Anything else you want to add before we start to conclude, at least this part today?
We talked about that being civilized or uncivilized has an implicit value judgment. If you're saying it about a person or about a group of people.
Yes. So the haunting question for all of us as we go through the story in the next weeks is, who really are the most civilized people on this planet? If we start to define civilization by quality of life. So far, we're defining it by all that we're doing, all that we're creating. But there's a very, very important question to ask. Is our quality of life getting better than it was before we started to gather around farmland, produce food, and begin to build more things together? Is our quality of life getting better? We can't answer that, but we'll try for the moment. That is a very, very important question that we have to let just hang there for us in this definition, because civilization can be defined in terms of all of the things we've just said, but historians and scholars will tell you often when it comes to quality of life, it gets more ambiguous. Because you can take an indigenous person probably living in the North Sentinel Island, for example, that we were just looking at, a very remote place in India that has remained isolated. And they've remained isolated, according to this article, Times of India, by their own choice. They don't want us, the so-called civilized. They want to have their life that they've been had for thousands of years. Maybe they feel their quality of life is better than ours. This is difficult. This is a difficult question to answer. I'm curious, and then I'm going to put Kevin really on the spot here, okay? We started this today with this great point that Avery Rose made. We've taken a little bit of paddled down a little creek today to explore civilization in more detail, a definition, because it does come up often, but today I thought, let's really explore it. We want to have a definition, and we've started to. These are all important points. But here we are near the end of the class, and we're left with a question. In terms of quality of life, Kevin, if you had to take your life today in Oshawa and you had beside you a person who is not civilized in the way that we think of it, whose life is better?
I think my life is better, but they might disagree.
And why do you think your life is better?
I'm familiar with my life. I'm practiced at living it. I know how to do it. I don't have to think about it a lot. I imagine the hypothetical person we're comparing my life to feels the same way about their life.
Okay, so that person would probably think his life is better too. But then here's another difficult question. Why did so many humans choose to form these larger communities around farmlands when they had been living already a different kind of life? Why did they transition to the farms and begin to produce all this? Why didn't they just stay as they were? In the wild, in the forests, in the jungles? Or why didn't they just stay with their families and others and continue doing what they do? Why did they come out of the wild into the metropolis, as we often say? Why did we begin to create cities? Why did we just stay there? What did we want? We're a social creature? Good answer. We like to be with others, but do we like to be with strangers? People that aren't our family?
We want someone who had control.
We're social. So we want to be with others, right? We want to be with others, Austin? Or Mitch? Or where is Mitch Marner now? He's over Vegas. Oh, that's a nice place to Vegas. Okay, yes. Yes.
I'm sure there were some people out there that were interested in how other people live, and that's how that was.
So our curiosity, could it be our restlessness? The human, forever wanting, seeking, exploring, looking, wondering, wanting more, thinking something new we can do together. Comfort, physical comfort, possibly, although maybe not, because many societies, including the great Greek world, as we will get to, we were supposed to today, but at least a little bit, but I did in Awakenings of Power, the men would say that when you love beauty, when you love to explore new things, you become soft. You don't want to become soft, you want to be hard. Like a man can handle everything. So as soon as you start to kind of get curious about other things, and maybe it's nice and beautiful, and you might get soft and you can't handle life. But the Greeks started to change that way of thinking, particularly in Athens, when Pericles, the great Greek leader of ancient Athens, said, we can be soft and love beauty, and we can also be strong at the same time. This was a revolutionary idea because most civilizations had strong men in power who were hard, and they weren't too cultured, but they were hard, and they could win wars. But then Pericles stands and says, no, we can love philosophy and explore art and build beautiful buildings and still win wars. Nothing wrong with that. Is there anything we're missing, Kevin, as we conclude, that you'd want to ask or say about civilization that you think everybody should be hearing?
No, I don't have anything else.
Yeah? Okay. Well, thanks very much. Okay. Thanks for coming up and sharing this. We're going to have to conclude. I did not get to the critical content, but that's okay. This is really important content too. I will make up next week for this. And as a matter of fact, I have some better, at least a little bit of encouraging news for you. Your last discussion post before midterm break is today, and that's due next Thursday. Next Friday's class, you will not have a discussion post to do. You will have finished your first assignment, which is due next Thursday, right? Or next Tuesday? Next Tuesday. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to make sure that I give you some really important content. And I'm going to deliver a lecture with a whole bunch of images and things for you to bring you up to speed. I'm going to cover I'll do Spells of Our God Kings. I'm going to probably do a Greater World. But what I'm going to try and do is stick to the story next week. So I get you right up to where I want you to be. Okay? In terms of critical content around the story. Today we went down a little route because I really want you to think about civilization. Yes. Yes. Yeah, this has come up, and I'm wondering how this. You're not the first one who said this. The assignment, a student is asking that I've said on these. What are you sure about this? Because I've simply said, I think I've said, just submit it to the Dropbox. And what happened? Rejected it? Sorry. No, that's okay, because students have been emailing me saying, are you asking us to submit it to turn it in? No. So all you have to do is send it through the Dropbox, and that's enough. But are you getting some sort of notification? It's a standard. Normally, all assignments, when I set the formatting for a Dropbox, as I've done over a few years, I just click on turn it in to be part of it. It may be. So I want to make sure there are no problems for you in submitting. And I still use turn it in to check for plagiarism, even though it's not even that effective anymore because of AI, which is better than turn it in. It can avoid detection. But yes. Yeah. But you seem to be getting a notice saying you need to do something, but you shouldn't have to. You should just have to press send and it will get into the drop. Okay, great. Then it's in the Dropbox. You already submitted it? Way to go. What's your name? Ava. Oh, Ava, I think we were in touch. For your final assignment coming at the end of the semester, you can get a 10% bonus for early submission. Not yet. But that's good, what you're doing. You're on top of it. But it doesn't really mean anything because you don't get anything for it yet. But you get some nice words from me. Okay? Yes. Okay, Avery Rose? Questions? Yeah.
One is a PDF or Word doc, like
doesn't, I prefer a Word doc, but if it comes in as PDF, that's fine. But a Word doc would be best.
Curiosity, for the discussion post, since we didn't have what you call critical content, I think,
Yes.
then what material do we use to create our important question?
For today?
Yeah.
For today, well, I would like you to be asking a question around civilization, something related to what we covered, because you can leave today's class, for just to be clear, I covered critical content that I don't normally do, but I felt I would do anyways, which is the meaning of civilization. That is important content, Avery Rose. What I didn't do is I didn't carry on with the story today and go through spells of our God Kings. That I'll do next week. Okay. Yeah. I took a little sidetrack because I wanted to explore a bit more to make sure you understand what civilization means, to really think about it. I used to do this in other classes, Avery wrote, then I stopped, and then I thought, I'm going to do it again today. So, depends on the students. Everybody good? Any questions? Anything else? Well, I hope the strike will be settled soon. We'll see. Have a good week. You know where to find me, where you can reach me. Katie, yes, hold on a moment. Katie's in the live chat. So do you want to, Katie, do you want to jump on your microphone and we can do this live, or just go ahead and put it in the live chat and see? Oh, I'm here right now. Everybody is leaving. You can leave the notes there. Great, I'll save them. So Katie, put your question there. I'll come back in a moment. Okay, I'm here. If you have any questions, we're done.
I do actually want to ask a question regarding when we started talking. We're talking about how what you said, farming was traveling up here.
Farming was going largely from west to east.
Okay.
From west to east.
Okay.
It was moving west to east.
I know we started talking about Afghanistan, India, and China. How would it have traveled like equally up to like Mongolia and Russia, or would it have gone down at all there, or like what would be the travel distance of?
Well, it didn't. It depends, but it was going once it reached China.
Yeah.
China was also developing independently too, but then there was knowledge and there were ideas that were coming from Mesopotamia to China as well. But then it starts to move north and it starts to move south as well. And of course, it will go north to Mongolia, and then we'll see soon the Mongol culture there, which was very different, will become extremely developed and powerful, and then we'll conquer China and we'll form the Mongolian civilization.
I just know I hardly ever hear about Mongolia, so I just figured it'd be neat to really figure out what would have gone there.
Well, they will receive knowledge, but they will also have their own unique knowledge that comes from living out in the open, on open land. It's called the steppe land, and we will see some very tough warriors emerge, like Genghis Khan and Kublai Khan.
Really freaking neat.
And they will eventually move southwards with their very developed military tactics, where they had these small horses, and they could fire with bareback on the horses. Little horses were fired, and they would turn around on their horses, and they were firing their bow and arrows really fast. They were very brutal, and very successful.
Yes, there's an actual YouTuber that I watched that was talking about the fundamental of how they fired their bows so they would injure themselves less while being able to keep a really freaking weird movements.
I wouldn't be surprised.
They are a really interesting community.
But they didn't have the same kind of developed culture. They left very little. They didn't build much. Okay. You know, they lived largely in these called it's a specific kind of tent, very large circular tents, and they were very mobile. What's that? The yurts. They were very mobile, and they were urbanized, but not for long, because they wanted to be constantly back in the open steppe land where they could see the big sky. They worshiped the open sky. That was their spiritual, they love the open sky, they love the land, and they got a lot of their culture by conquering others and absorbing the ideas of the people they conquered, but they didn't build very much.
All right, thank you.
Didn't leave very much.
Have
Yeah.
yourself a
Okay.
lovely day.
Sure. Yes.
Just when you said that they invented quantum tunneling,
Quantum tunneling. Yes.
so if you consider like air layer as the wall and I don't know ourselves as the object,
Yes.
we throw it like that, would it be like teleportation?
Well, maybe, but we're in a period of time right now where we are learning about the very weird behavior of the microscopic or subatomic world, which is the quantum world. It's a tiny world of, this is very new, of the little particles, and they behave in the very strange ways, very, very weird. And we're learning more and more about this, and now we're learning and about the quantum tunneling, which is and there may be some technologies that are going to develop soon. I'd like to be alive to see what we create from these things.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, quantum, it's really cool. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so in terms of that civilization,
Yeah.
according to what I've read and noticed, normally they said civilization started from Egypt.
Yes.
Because I think the first school was built in Egypt or started from Egypt. But now
No, Egypt comes later. The ones we're talking about now are pre-Egypt. Mesopotamia was before Egypt. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and then even the Indus and the Yellow and Yangtze in this area, particularly the Mesopotamia, was before the Nile River began to develop too. So, but they were close. If you watch, you can see how Egypt is connected to Mesopotamia, see where Iraq is. And so there was some movement around there as well between the, what we call the Sumerian civilization, that was a Mesopotamian civilization, and Egypt as well. But Egyptian world developed a little bit later. Not a lot, but about we would say maybe 1,000, 2,000 years later. Yeah.
Ancient Rome ended approximately 2,000 years ago, and 10,000 years is the starting line. And
Yes.
ancient Egypt lasted for either 2,000 or 4,000.
No, 4,000, for about 4,000. It was a long.
Only had like 500 years, 1,000 years overlap with Rome, right?
Well,
Rome
that's it.
had
Yes.
Various Egyptian cities.
Well, now you have to remember when you talk about Rome, the Western Roman Empire fell in 476 AD. And then it was split into the Western and Eastern, and the Eastern part became Constantinople and Byzantium and that area, and that then lasted for another 1,000 years. So to say that Rome, ended 2,000 years ago is not correct. What I was going to touch on this today. Rome transitioned from a republic to an empire 2,000 years ago. And it was a coming of Jesus at that point. He was rebelling against the sort of dictatorship that was coming to Rome that became the emperors. And Rome became a kind of authoritarian. It was not a democracy anymore, but it was a kind of democracy, a republic, until about 2,000 years ago. And Julius Caesar's death, and that was a big turning point. And then Rome changed, and it became authoritarian and totalitarian almost around the emperors. Then it began to collapse over a period of a few hundred years. So we would say officially, the Roman Empire ended east and west. I think it was with the Turks or the Ottomans that conquered Constantinople in 1400s. That's when the Eastern Empire was finished. Yeah. Anyway, but you're, generally right. We can nitpick about dates. Good. We'll talk about that next week, because that I wanted to spend a lot of time today talking about the transition from the Republic to the Empire in Rome. But what Avery Rose said was a really important question about it. Because you're going to see coming that our definition of civilization is going to grow into a sense of superiority, and we're going to use that to slaughter many peoples that don't deserve it.
All
Are we
all.
witnessing the end of the American Anglo Empire?
Well, my personal view is empires don't survive their own hubris or arrogance or their own sense of, firstness. And I think we're seeing that in the United States. And I think the one that's filling that vacuum is China. The world is turning increasingly towards China and away from the United States. That's what I think is, and that's even worse. But,
Yeah.
I mean,
Potentially with social credit systems and things like that.
yeah, and that China is a communist, and it's also got the most intense surveillance of any country on the planet. You go to China, the cameras everywhere. People have identity cards now that are connected to big data, and so the control over population is intense.
I have a friend who taught English in China like 5 years ago for a period of 2 years. She was not concerned by the cameras in China because they were made in China. They're low quality.
And so she was okay with them just because they're made in China?
No, not like she distilled that knowledge over the course of 2 years.
Yeah.
But like the various cameras are usually, most of them not working. Or not working.
Oh, I see. She's not worried.
Effective full system.
Right.
Yeah.
That'll change.
One last question. Do you think that there will ever be a world war coming?
I don't know. You could look at history after the First World. You could look at the pre-First World War, where people said there cannot be a world war based on what's happening in the world then, and there was. But the First World War then became the war to end all wars. Well, that surely didn't work, because then the Second World War happened, 20 years later or so. So I don't know. My biggest fear, as I study this more and more, is that all this technology is just, going to be used for greater control of human beings. That's my greatest fear. And then we're really stuck, because the tech is so sophisticated now that it's like, and when I look at a guy like Elon Musk, I mean, he just scares the hell out of me. Richest man in the world, and look at what comes out of his mouth. But anyways, that's my view. He's a walking tyrant. Look at his back.
And
Oh,
it
just
becomes obsolete, right? We want to usher in technocracy, and we don't really need your government anymore. And
that's right.
If
Global.
we really need that,
He's everywhere. But listen to what he says about human society.
Well, that was what was so interesting. Sorry to cut in, but I didn't know much about JD Vance, and then JD Vance is going to be running for vice president. I said, okay, so my political hat, I go, that's actually a really smart choice. But then you're like, oh, he's with Peter Thiel and tech people, and so this totalitarian technological thing that still moves forward. It seemed like, oh, we're not going to get it done under the Democrats, so let's abandon that, but we're still going to roll this out. I think that's the plan. It's very bright.
But I'm hopeful. I'm honestly hopeful that if we are really super educated, that's why I'm passionate about teaching now, because I think we're at a weird moment in history where people can get dumb quickly by just staying on their computers, feeding them all sorts of nonsense all day. And there's lots of people who know that and will get you addicted. The algorithms will keep you entertained day and night, stimulated day and night, and you just don't know how to think anymore. You're just stimulated and depressed at the same time. That's not a good state to be in. So I just want to be smart. Anyway, I hope that doesn't depress you. See you next week, guys. That's right. Let's come out of that hole. Okay, I got to stop this live stream. Jesus.
Oh yeah, you're live.
Somebody's still there? Katie. Well, I'm glad. It's funny you asked that, Katie, because I was literally I had in my notes today to see if there are particular students who want me to start putting more content, books and things into the folder. I used to, do this, Katie, a lot, but I found most students just didn't read the stuff, but there were a few that did. But I had to be teaching to everybody. I couldn't just teach to the smart, not the smartest, but that there were certain motivated students. You may be one of those, and so yes, there are. What would you? Let me look at what you want. Okay, I have a question regarding general con. Got any book recommendation for extra research? Okay, yeah. I mean, the person who's very popular now, but he's pretty good. Is Yuval Noah Harari, the Israeli author of *Sapiens* and *Homo Deus*. Do you know those books, *Sapiens* and *Homo Deus*? Katie? Okay, so put his name. I'll write this for you. He's like a bestseller. He's very good. He's all over the internet, but he's dealing with these big questions. Yuval Noah Harari, and his book is the big one that was a breakthrough. It's called *Sapiens*. Then there's *Homo Deus*. And if you really want a classic, but it's dense, then it would be William McNeil's *Rise of the West*, History of the Human Community. And then you can keep going back to Arnold Toynbee. That's going way back. People, Arnold Toynbee, Civilization series. And then the one who's really, there's even a course here based on him, David Christian, Maps of Time, as well as Short History of Humanity, I think it is. Those are a few. But there's a lot of people now dealing in this. But I would start with *Sapiens*. Start with *Sapiens*. And Yuval, he's interviewed all over the place. You can see him, and Harari has been talking a lot online about AI and its impact on humanity going forwards. Okay. Anyways, I better go. There's a professor here. You're good. I'm gonna and okay. I'll see you next week.
Go, but not in a bad way.
Yeah, I gotta go. No, I understand. There's I gotta. Thanks. See ya. Professor's got his students coming in here. Stop the live stream. Oh, I gotta get the live chat. Oh, don't lose that. Yeah. Okay, good. Then I'm set.